Okay, folks, well, look, it's been Karen, but in last week's episode, we got a little bit, not the full extent, but just a little bit of what Aaron is going through. Obviously, Karen has been a major player in season 9 thus far. We've been following her journey from, the hassle of getting through the traffic during all the blackouts as Zatima was making their way to the hospital. Then, of course, from the lack of proper medical attention, dealing with a stillborn, an emergency C-section, losing one of the kids, one of the babies. It's just been a whole thing. And we did touch upon Zach. Aaron came by to check on Zach, and that was great. But we finally had, last week was episode 5, right? Yeah, I think it was episode 5. Yeah, Heaviest to Crown. We finally got a little glimpse of what Aaron is going through. Now, we didn't get the full extent because before he could, get into it, it seems that over the past few days, ever since Karen gave birth, they were still in the hospital and came home. Mind you, them being at the hospital, that was all in off-screen land. But it stands to reason that Aaron, had been biting his tongue and was just being supportive, excited that, at least little Faith made it. But at the same time, he's been going through it too. Now, I've already done a video talking about, is Aaron feeling what we as the fans have been saying for, the past few weeks? Like, is it a situation where Aaron's kind of picking up on the fact that Karen might not necessarily be mourning simply the loss of Forever Taylor, but the connection to Zach as well? And on the other side of that coin, Aaron could low-key be feeling neglected. Honestly, I don't even necessarily think his feelings of neglect are for him specifically, but for their daughter, Faith. And the theme of this video, I've already talked about the fact of Karen honestly never wanting to be a mom. But in this video, I'm focusing on the accountant. The preacher, John. Aaron. We're going to focus on Aaron. And the question I want to raise to you all is Aaron having second thoughts about having a child with Karen? And before moving forward, take a moment to smash that like button, hit subscribe, follow me on social media, links are in the description below, and leave your thoughts in the comment section on, do you think Aaron could possibly be having second thoughts? Now, a couple weeks ago, I did a video about whether or not, Aaron might just take their baby and leave, because if Karen doesn't shape up, and I will always throw in this disclaimer before people think I'm tripping, like, oh, you're being, insensitive to what she's going through because you're a guy and this, that, and the third. I'm simply going to address the fact that the number of people for the past couple weeks, and I feel like even after this upcoming episode this week, I'm sick of it. I'm done. I saw some comments on some recent videos like, you know what, I'm not even going to watch this season because I can't deal with sitting week after week after week of Karen dealing with this depression and whatnot. Folks, I've said this in several other videos. I don't even know. I can't even say with full confidence that by the time we get to episode 11, which is the mid-season finale, I don't know if we were going to make it to the next day. Keep in mind, episodes 4 and 5 have taken place on the same day. I think we're around afternoon, lunchtime, give or take. This upcoming episode takes place during the day. I think around maybe episode 8 is when we're going to get to the point where it's kind of evening or nighttime. So maybe, just maybe, we'll move into the next day by the time we get to the mid-season finale. But for real, like, if you're expecting Karen to just bounce back and whatnot and, get on her feet and take care of her baby after, no, that's not going to happen. Not at least not anytime soon. So just please get that out of your heads. But let's go back to Aaron. In the same vein as the people who say, I've seen people, I don't have any sympathy for her. I don't even have a mustard seed. Somebody said this on Twitter to one of my Karen posts. You know what, Jeremy, your post going in depth about Karen and her, attitude and demeanor during her pregnancy, this is exactly why I don't have a mustard seed of sympathy for what she's going through. Granted, I've said it before and I'll say it, again here. Despite how I feel about Karen in terms of what she went through at that hospital, oh no, that was awful. I wouldn't wish that on anyone. But in terms of what she's going through right now, I'm not trying to discredit what she's going through, but I'm just trying to analyze what exactly these feelings are. And keep in mind, she's lashed out a couple times and, she fled from the baby at the end of the last episode. But at the same time, again, we're in the same day. So I don't really know if we're even going to explore this further until later in the season. But I really do feel like at the core, if the babies were reversed, so to speak, and it was Zach's baby that made it rather than Aaron's, rather than Karen shutting herself down from Faith, I think Karen would be all in for motherhood if it was Forever that made it, and Aaron would be the one kind of discarded, because even though him and Karen aren't official, they've been getting cozy for the past month or so. But with Zach in the house, with as excitable as he is, I think that, Karen and him would just be hitting it off. And then Aaron would low key feel jealous, but at the same time grief. And to be honest, the same way Karen's like, I can't be around people who act like I didn't lose a baby. That would be Aaron. It's like, no offense, Karen. Look, Zach, I know you two are excited, but we just lost Faith. Yeah, but we still have Forever. Also, I highly doubt the baby would have been named Forever if she did survive. Just throwing that out there. So Aaron would have been the one discarded, and here we would have gone with a whole bunch of things going back to the earlier seasons where Aaron feels like, yet again, he's number 2 compared to Zach, and he's going to have to try to compete by overcompensating. I don't know. Like, maybe he's like, hey, can I hold a baby? No. I got this, man. I'm baby daddy number 1. And then it's like, Aaron, it's okay. Go sit in the corner. I just feel like that's what it would have been. Now, more to the point of Aaron having second thoughts, kind of like with the people who say they have no sympathy for Karen because her entire pregnancy was just to weaponize and hurt Zach and Fatima and some, form of control, which I still stand by that. I honestly think that Aaron, I don't feel bad for Aaron. Any sort of sympathy I have is directed towards Faith, just because this baby didn't ask to be involved in any of this foolishness. Because Aaron's whole thing, what was it when he walked in on Zach and Karen having sex in her office? At that moment, that's when Aaron broke. I knew this man had reached he just lost his spine. He became absolutely pathetic. The moment that he was sitting out in the salon, just like contemplating what he just saw, Karen came out and she tried to explain. I think one of my favorite Sistas memes of all time was a meme I saw on Twitter where, it wasn't exactly a meme, but it was just a side-by-side comparison. It was Karen after her and Zach, were knocking boots, her white boots, in the office. And she sat out there with Aaron as he poured his heart out about how hurt he was. And her hair was all freaked up, obviously. And somebody put next to Karen a picture of a black Barbie with the hair all over the place. That's exactly that's exactly what she looked like. And she was trying to explain, Aaron, I think that, because essentially, I need to go back and rewatch that scene. Not necessarily the sex part, but the conversation that took place after. Aaron was more so disappointed than anything else, because just to kind of paint the picture for you, at this point in time, Aaron was something else during season 2. Because during the first, I want to say maybe the first quarter of the season, he was in his grieving phase because his ex-wife, who he had just recently divorced to start dating Karen, had just offed herself in front of Karen. So he was grieving. And even more than that, I think early in the season, after the whole divorce and death of his ex, that's when his mother-in-law took custody of the kids and got the house and all this stuff. So essentially Aaron was just done. And he was just wrestling with a whole lot of stuff. And I believe this is right after, Aaron was chosen by Karen as the one she wanted to pursue, as opposed to getting back together with Zach. Now, the thing is, Aaron was the one who wanted sex. And then they went to the hotel, and then that's when Pam accidentally told Zach about it because she assumed that the flowers at the salon were from Zach, and then Zach broke into the room. This was, after he and Fatima first met at Chainbreakers. He asked her to drop him off at the hotel, broke into the room, got into the fight before they were in the yeah, that's kind of interesting because season 2 kind of started with Zach interrupting them before they, fully had sex. And then at the end of season 2, Aaron walked in on Zach and Karen having sex. But essentially, yeah, Zach got arrested, Fatima bailed him out, yada, yada, yada. So after that, Karen stopped Aaron's advances because, look, you're grieving and look, you're fine, you're attractive and whatnot, but I know you're only wanting to have sex right now because you're grieving your wife and you need to properly grieve before anything else. And, this was also at a point when Karen was still dealing with the PTSD from Aaron's ex-wife's brother breaking into her apartment and trying to kill her until Zach showed up to save her, and then he got stabbed, and then she shot the dude. So she was dealing with that. And, at this point, it's like Aaron was just holding her just to comfort her, and she would be screaming Zach in her sleep, which makes complete sense due to the fact that she literally watched this guy save her life and then get nearly killed as a result. So as the season went on, it got to like a courtship phase where Aaron was everything Zach wasn't. A gentleman. He showed up on time. He showed respect. He would show up with Karen's favorite food. They'd watch movies. I think what really just turned Karen around was like the one time, I'm going out with my girls tonight. Oh, do you need any money? What money? Yeah. You need any money before you go out? No, I'm good, but thanks for asking. It was basically Aaron being like, yet again, everything that Zach wasn't. And as the season went on, and this is the sad part about Karen as a character and what Tyler did. Season 2 Karen, up until the credit card fiasco, this was the best iteration of Karen because she was changing for the better. All the girls knew, it was like she didn't smoke with the girls anymore. She didn't drink as much. And the most important thing they noticed was the fact that she wasn't cussing or anything. She was like a preacher's wife. And that was the craziest part. And it just goes to show that one choice ended up freaking up her future, which was, well, technically 2. Choosing to have Zach arrested. And I feel like she only did that to prove a point to the girls who were making fun of her for still having feelings for Zach. And then from there, when Zach pleaded with her, he kissed her and then they had sex. You could almost argue that her having that office sex with Zach and then a couple days later, sex with the preacher, that was essentially her hair getting burned during a Pepsi commercial, because a lot of Michael Jackson fans point to, it's insane to think the trajectory of Michael Jackson's career, his life, all those things, if not for that one Pepsi incident, because of the pain meds and all this other stuff. And I'm not going into that tangent, but it's just an example of, we all reach a point in our lives where that one decision could make or break your future. Just one decision. So with Karen, after she had the office sex with Zach, also a big point I wanted to make. remember, as season 2 went on, Aaron was like, no, 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 I can't be doing premarital sex and whatnot. So, yeah, I can't. The worst part about it, Karen was horny for damn near all of season 2. She was horny. She did not waste an opportunity. It's like, I want Aaron so bad, but he has this thing about not having sex until marriage because, he's a preacher and whatnot. It's like, I just want him so, like, every time he's over at my house and we're just eating and, watching TV. And look, I'm sorry if my Karen I have not done a Karen impression in a long time. Look, if you've been a long time viewer of the channel, you know I used to be good, with Karen, Drunk Andy, and a few other characters. But yeah, I'm off my game. But yeah, essentially, it's like, at any time me and him get intimate, even if we're just holding each other, and I start to kiss him, he just stops me, and I'm just, but I don't know. But on that particular day, Aaron swung by the salon saying, you know what, I've been thinking about it and praying about it, and tonight might be the night that I'm ready to go all the way with you. So basically, had Zach not come over to the salon pleading with her, or if she didn't kiss him back after he kissed her and they had sex, she was going to get something for the preacher man. But that's another thing, another decision. What if Aaron had sex with Karen earlier in the season and she wasn't horny as a dog? So maybe she wouldn't have fallen for Zach. I feel like Zach's emotion, because he poured his heart out to her and then kissed her, and then she was horny. Had she not been horny, maybe things wouldn't have escalated. I'm not blaming Karen for not having sex earlier. That's his choice. Hey, you know me, Christian, I'm personally waiting for marriage. So that's just how I am. And Aaron, well, he was going to make the call later that night. But unfortunately, rather than the nighttime booty call, Zach came over when Karen's shift was almost over. And that's when Aaron walked in. And then he sat out there with Karen basically going on about how disappointed he is and talking about he needed space. Mind you, I think this was the first and only time Aaron had told Karen, I need space. Because, of course, and I'll get to it a little later, Aaron's whole thing is just completely ignoring whenever Karen says, I need space. So, essentially, he kissed her on the forehead, and then he left the salon. Confused. Oh, yeah, also, I remember after he had walked in, Zach's like, come on, let's finish. Karen's like, no, you gotta go. So, she's just sitting there like, damn, maybe I shouldn't have told Zach not to leave. So, yeah. After that, the girls go over to the not the penthouse. This is pre-penthouse. They go to Andy's apartment. Andy mentions how her and Gary are back together. Danny and Sabrina are dumbfounded. And they look to Karen because Karen is awfully quiet. And as opposed to her usual self telling Andy off, she didn't want to throw stones in glass houses, because where Andy's like, me and Gary got back together. And I also think she revealed that they're engaged. I can't remember. But Karen mentioned how I'm thinking about giving Zach another chance. So at this point, Aaron had walked away from Karen, and she made up in her mind, I'm going to give Zach another chance. Not knowing that, well, Zach and Fatima got something going on. Nothing official. They didn't do a DTR. So that led to the whole grocery store encounter, Danny running her damn mouth, and, Karen got pissed. I can't believe he never told her my name. So essentially, Karen lost out on her newish almost friend Fatima, because neither one of them knew of their mutual connections to Zach. And that's when Aaron popped up. Oh boy. Aaron came over to Karen's place that same day, at night. Drunk as a skunk. Mind you, this was the same man who earlier that day walked in on Karen and Zach having sex in her office. Then talked about how disappointed he was and saying that he needed space. He shows up drunk as a skunk. But the moment I feel like Aaron lost all of his pride and whatnot, Karen had let him in. He's just speaking in slurs and whatnot. You know, Karen, yeah, yeah. So she was in the kitchen. Well, actually, yeah. I think she had noticed how drunk he was and went to the kitchen to get him something. She turned back around, and I think this dude had dropped his pants and whatnot. And Karen said, pull your pants back up. Let me make you some coffee. It was at that moment I knew, oh my goodness. That was just embarrassing because obviously she had some of that Zach wee wee a few hours earlier. And according to Fatima, you know, like Zach is packing more than the guys at club eating and whatnot. And then he apparently his thing is super effective on any woman he does it with. Belinda drives her nuts. Heather got knocked up. What's her name? Helena from the airport. And a few other women. That Officer Rhea or whoever. So he's really good. And when I say really good, I'm referring to the women. All right? Just don't get it twisted. So, yeah, it's like Aaron apparently doesn't have it the way he does. So the way she said, put your pants back on. It's like, get some coffee. It was at that moment, Aaron just lost all of his, you know, confidence and whatnot, because ever since the moment he walked into the office and called them together, he just nonstop had to prove to Karen, but I feel like to himself as well, that he is the better man for her. And to be fair, for dang near an entire season, he was. Because it wasn't just about him being a better man than Zach, treating Karen better than Zach ever did, but the fact that he was having such a positive influence on Karen, and everyone else could see it. The glow up. It wasn't about money. It wasn't about any of that. It was the way that Aaron was just being there. And I mean being present, being attentive, being loving and caring. All of that stuff. It made Karen walk around with a smile instead of a scowl. Like, it's baffling. Like, I went back and rewatched a few scenes from season 2. And Ebony, I gotta admit, like, that just is a testament to her acting. Where she went from a character physically on the glow up. Like, you know, I had never seen Karen smile as much as she did in season 2. Particularly in scenes with Aaron, or just thinking about him, or somebody asks, Danny's like, girl, what's wrong with you? Like, you know, something different about you. And then compare that to the bitter, scowling Karen for like seasons 3 onward. It's crazy. But Aaron just kept trying to prove that he was the better man. And he was always going to come up short. He was always going to be number 2. It was always, Zach was Goku, Aaron was Vegeta. You know? Zach was Netflix, Aaron was Blockbuster. Oh man, I know you'll get tired of me making examples like that, but hey, it is what it is. Zach was the original House of Pain. Aaron was the Pains on Own. Yeah, bad. Okay, so essentially, he can never measure up physically or whatever, just because of the fact that quickie, that interrupted quickie in the office, it just brought back memories, and the fact she was super horny. Now, from there, Karen's entire journey became trying to comprehend the fact that the Zach of the present was not the Zach of the past. All the while, you had Aaron constantly popping up, being there, and I just stopped feeling sorry for him, because it got to like Steve Urkel levels of annoying. Like, how many times does this woman have to tell you no before you get it through your thick skull that she's not into you like that? Yeah, it sucks because for dang near an entire season she was, but all of a sudden the Karen that was, you know, happy to be around you was like, Aaron, I don't know, because of the fact that I'm still dealing with feelings for Zach and whatnot. And at that point, that should have been a red flag. Like, well, you really weren't feeling Zach like that for most of last season. But no, he kept popping up. And I felt like it was an ego thing. He had to prove he was better than Zach. Zach wasn't even there. He was with Fatima. Yet, at that point, he just felt like he had to beat the memory of Zach. All the while, and to be fair, both Karen and Aaron were thinking about past variations of Zach. Karen was unable to see the level up Zach because she was so used to the toxic cycle they had been in for the past 3 years. Basically, Zach was acting with Fatima the complete opposite of how he was acting with her. Case in point, like the big reveal of, wait, Zach gave you the passcode to his phone? Wait, Zach came directly to you after I told him I was pregnant and he told you about it? And the list goes on. Like, there were so many moments where Karen was dumbfounded about how Zach acted with Fatima versus when they were together. And when it comes to Aaron, he is so hung up on trying to outdo the memory of Zach that Karen's, has floating in her head, that he too just looks at Zach as that same bum on a bicycle. It doesn't matter how much money he has and whatnot. Aaron low-key still sees Zach as that bum on the bicycle that always tried to interrupt his personal time with Karen. Literally. Now, it got to the point where Karen had sex with Aaron just because obviously she was still hung up on Zach and she needed to take out her frustration on someone, and well, it was him. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I didn't go back and check, but didn't these two have sex the same night that the pop-up wedding that Gary had for Andy? I think. I don't know. But in any case, I remember specifically that both, well, Tyler, the way he cut the scenes, Aaron and Karen were having sex at the same time as Fatima and Zach. Yeah, so Zatima and then... Wait, I don't think they've ever put together a shipping name for Karen and Aaron. Yeah, Aaron? I don't know. It wouldn't work. They both end in un. But in any case, this is very, very close to when Zach and her had sex. So obviously, hence why she got pregnant by 2 men, whatever. So we learned that after they had sex, Aaron just up and left. I mean, the guy who was so adamant about having sex and being intimate just left her. And she was looking like, wait, what? But it wasn't until like a season or so later that Aaron revealed, the night we had sex for the first time, the reason I got up and left so immediately was because I heard you, when I was inside of you and you were whispering, like you were about to say Zach. And that's why I'm like, yeah, even though we're literally one, she's thinking about him. That's why I left. So as the pregnancy journey went on, after learning she was pregnant, Aaron was the one trying to do the calculations and calendar dates. And it's like, wait a minute, I think I'm the father of that baby. No, it couldn't be. And then that led to the whole back and forth of, hey, Karen, I think I'm the father. No. And then when the doctor was about to reveal how long she was pregnant, the fact that this fool left the room, I don't care. Like, hey, hospital rules or whatever. If there's a chance I'm this baby's father, I got a right to know. Like, you can, fine. If you won't let me hear it, I'll get a lawyer, whatever. But in any case, yeah, it was at this point where Aaron just kept being so dang annoying. Hey, I'll love you and that baby, even if it isn't mine, because my ex-wife, our kids weren't really even my kids. And it was this, that, and the third. It was just nonstop foolishness. Like, what was that one time he had come over there and he was sitting on this couch with Karen? He had he scribbled together a portrait of Karen, and the lines were actually affirmations and things about love and crap, and it brought her to tears. Then they started getting intimate. But if I remember correctly, didn't the girls just rudely interrupt because they came in without knocking? So yeah. And it was just low-key pitiful. It really was, because no matter how many times Karen said, I need space, I need to be single right now, I'm wrestling with my feelings, I need to focus on this baby. Okay, you're right, Karen. Then he would constantly send flowers and called her on the phone saying, what was it, that first time he had a card, and yeah, he put a card in the flowers and called her saying like, I talked to God and God said you're the woman for me. I'm sorry, Aaron, but maybe the lines got crossed and you got the wrong message, because based off of a lot of things, I don't think if God said a woman was for me, or you're the this woman is the one for you, Jeremy, and this woman constantly says, leave me alone, I need space, gets to the point where she can't stand my presence, she's pregnant, I'm thinking there's at least a chance, a 50-50 shot of me being the daddy, and she's constantly denying me. But after all that, and this is the part where I really think Aaron should have, hightailed it out of there. I guess as Karen got further along in her pregnancy, and it got to a point where she had to realize that, okay, as much as I want this to be Zach's baby, there is a real chance that it might be Aaron's baby. If I had sex with a woman, which again, wait until marriage, but for the sake of example, if I had sex with a woman and I found out that she had sex with another man within a very short timetable and she was pregnant, and I'm like, oh snap, okay, I'm about to be a dad. And she literally says, aside from constantly shooting down any chance of me being the father, going as far as to say, Jeremy, I don't know you well enough to have a baby with you. and even worse, during the whole letter reading ceremony thing, and I call it a ceremony because it was a dumb thing that Miss Lisa did in season 5. The fact that Aaron sat there and in both letters were trashing Zach, but at the same time telling Aaron like, look, I'm too broken for me to, properly allow you to love me. And Zach, he's done so much damage that when a real man wants to love me, I don't know how to accept it. And then going so far as to say, Zach, I want to be over and done with you, but I still want this baby to be yours. Aaron, the same man who was told, I don't know you well enough to have a baby with you. And you're sitting in the same room with her ex, and she says she hopes that the baby is yours. Why are you still there? Because even after Karen had read the first letter to Aaron, mentioning how broken and all she was, Aaron was like, well, I still think there's a chance and we should try. What the actual F-U-C-K, man? Like, for real. What are you on right now? What are you on? And see, Aaron was like this, and this was season 5, season 6. This is why the moment in, I think it was season 7. Remember when he brought the double stroller to the salon and then Aaron chewed him out? Karen chewed him out, but then that's when Aaron finally got a backbone. That's why that moment was so epic, because we had not seen Aaron stand up to Karen since season 1. It took 6 seasons for this man to regain even a fraction of his spine to put Karen in her place. That's how long it took. He was more willing to go toe-to-toe with Zach on multiple occasions. Well, then again, to be fair, Zach is usually the one that gets, irritated by Aaron's presence. But, yeah, he was more willing to go back and forth with Zach, but not with Karen. So, I'm going to be real. I didn't think this video would be more than 8 minutes, and here I am over 30. But I just wanted to give the history. Also, side note, I appreciate you all who leave the positive comments. Look, I know there are those, oh, you're undermining Karen's feelings and postpartum, you're a man, yada, yada, yada. But I love the people who are like, Jeremy, this is like one of the most in-depth videos about Karen, and I love you bringing up all the stuff. That's why this video was so long, because I really wanted to go in depth, kind of giving a history of Aaron to really go through the layers of why I don't really feel sympathetic for him in terms of being neglected by Karen, because she's neglected you since the moment that you walked in on her and Zach having sex in the office. At that point, she kind of snapped back from, oh, Aaron, to, yep, rebound, you go back, I'm done, I want to get back with my main squeeze so we can be together for like 2 episodes before we break up again. So, yeah, it's just one of those things where as time went on, Aaron got to the point where he was just so adamant. And he has this friend at the hospital. I saw the DNA test. No, Aaron, there's a 99.999% chance you aren't the father. Wait, I looked at him wrong? Okay. And that's when Karen said go. And he was gone for 3 months. Yeah, because that was season 6. Then season 7, you had the time jump. Then she found out she had twins. Then, yeah, towards the end of the seasons where he had the backbone moment. Oh, yeah, well, even though he had not been in contact with Karen directly, Pam was kind of like the in-between person, the middle woman, if you will, where Aaron, maybe sometimes contact her to check in to see how things are going. And then, of course, that's how he got involved with Roots to Riches as an investor. And yeah, so now we're at the situation where the baby's here. The baby that Karen had with the man she didn't know well enough to have a child with. And now he's yet again in a situation where the thoughts and emotions that Karen has towards Zach, and by extension their baby that unfortunately died, that has caused him to fall yet again from Karen's possible main dish over to the tomato and pickle that a picky eater threw off their burger and threw in the bag. That's me. I'm that picky eater. I don't eat tomatoes or pickles on my sandwich. No. That's literally how he feels. And even worse, as I mentioned at the beginning, the baby. And it's just a dang shame because of the fact that this man went against his own spiritual and personal morals of not having sex until marriage, simply due to the fact that he felt that he had to do it in order to hopefully win Karen back from Zach, who had already moved on, leading to them having sex. Then during the sheet tango, he realized, wait a minute, she's still thinking about Zach. That's when he should have walked away. But then again, he would have had to come back after realizing that, 2 babies, he was the daddy of 1. But no sympathy. And yeah, I still don't know about the whole John thing and then that Jennifer chick in the parking lot. I don't know if we'll ever get follow up on that, whatever. But I think another moment that really showcased how much of a simp he was. Aaron was giving simps a bad name. That's how bad it got. When, after season 3 mid-season finale, when Zach told Karen, I'm going after Fatima with my whole heart, and he gave her that $72,000 check, and Aaron came over, and this man literally asked Karen if she wanted to get married. And the only reason he wanted to get married on the spot that night was so they could have sex, because he got booted from the men's group, that he was the leader of, because he's the pastor. He got removed from the group because he talked about how he had sex without being married. And it almost felt like he only wanted to marry Karen in that moment to, one, have sex that is, biblically acceptable, and on top of that, get his position back. So it felt completely out of pocket, and it didn't do well to show his character in a good light as far as I'm concerned. Like for me, if I went out and I met a woman that I found insanely attractive, but even more than the physical, we clicked on so many levels, and it's like, okay, I'm a virgin. I don't want to, I don't want to do premarital sex, but I want to have sex with this woman. So I'm going to ask her to marry me just because I want sex. That is wrong on so many levels. And the worst part is, this is a freaking preacher. And he tried to pull that crap with Karen. Thankfully, she said no. But yeah, folks, Aaron, I don't feel bad for him. I don't feel bad. Now, I do feel bad in the fact that this, as far as we know, I believe he told Zach this would be his first child, like his first biological child, not stepchildren from a marriage or relationship or whatever, but his first legit child. And here he is having a child with a woman who never prioritized him as the main man in her life. For the short stint of time she did, all things were good until Zach came into the picture. And now, unfortunately, because the baby that her and Zach had never technically came into the picture because she passed, that's really fogged up Karen's mind, causing her to space out and be so distant and shut down that the daughter that's right in front of her, she can't even stand to look at. Not, I'd like to think it's not out of disdain or whatnot, but more so regret. So I think there's some regret on both ends. The fact that Aaron realizes, oh man, I had a kid with a woman who is still stuck on her ex, and I'm not only myself, but our daughter is forever going to be in the shadow of her ex Zach, as well as the daughter she lost. We're never going to be top priority. We're always going to be second fiddle. And it's unclear as of right now if Karen will ever come out of this funk. If she'll ever, be fit to be a mom. But like I said a couple weeks ago, I hope at some point she gets some tough love. Like, hey, feel like Danny told Zach, you know what? It's okay. Feel those feelings. Stay in this place of sorrow, but don't do it for too long. You need to move forward. Karen, this isn't just about you anymore. You wanting to probably raise hell and whatnot because eventually you get jealous of Fatima as she gets further along in her pregnancy and whatnot with Zach's baby, the way you thought you would. But you wanting to raise chaos and whatnot, that's not going to fly. Not anymore. Because of the fact that you have a daughter now. This isn't something you could just give up for adoption and whatnot. This faith is here to stay. Now, like I said before, it might get to the point where Aaron might just take her and leave because it's like, nah, I don't feel comfortable leaving our daughter alone with Karen. The way she's spacing out and whatnot, and what happens if she needs to be fed or diaper changed, she doesn't want to touch her or look at her. Like, what am I supposed to do? So I feel like at this point, Aaron might finally get to the point where he leaves Karen once and for all. But unfortunately, you got a poor child who didn't ask to be caught in the middle of any of this turmoil. A poor child that has to suffer not knowing her biological mom. And that's only if things get to the point where Karen just refuses to acknowledge this baby's existence and be a mom and whatnot. Maybe Aaron will get with Jennifer or someone else. I don't know, but I don't know. And say what you will about Aaron and the way he treats women, the way Miss Lisa clocked him about, a woman just doesn't shoot herself out of nowhere. Like, you drove her to that point in reference to her ex-wife. And when it comes to the kids, we never met his stepchildren, but it seems to me that Aaron would make for a great father. I mean, there's just a lot we still don't know about his character, nor do I know if we'll ever explore it. But in terms of what's happening right now, I can't necessarily say that I feel sorry for him because he chose to stick around for as long as he did, get mixed up in this whole baby daddy drama, and now he thinks he has everything. I mean, I low-key think that having this baby, the same way Karen felt that the baby that she was having with Zach would forever tether him to her, low-key giving her hope that they can reconcile someday and be back together in a relationship. I think Aaron, to some extent, felt that the baby that he and Karen had would make her come around to the idea of being with him. I mean, go back to what I said probably 30 minutes ago at this point about Aaron trying to one-up Zach on every occasion to prove he was the better man. Who was the one that kept saying, I'll step up and take care of both of these babies if I have to? Basically oh yeah, Zach's only talking about taking care of his half of the baby and this, that, and the third. Well, I'll take care of both of them. Yeah, I'll do that. I think he only did that to try to show Karen yeah, I'm the one who's father material, not him. I'm the one who will provide a good example, not Zach, not the jailbird. Man, oh man, oh man, oh man, oh man. So, folks, what do you think? Do you think that Aaron is low-key having regrets about choosing to have a baby with Karen. Nah, man, I thought you were excited. You were pumped up. You were so you were so as Karen was saying, you were so show that you were the father. But now you see what it's like. I mean, you're forever haunted by the memory of Zach, and forever. So there it is. I don't feel bad for Aaron. I don't. I feel bad for that poor child. Because never asked to be involved with this. You got the baby sitting out there between the sink and the stove in the kitchen, and her mom doesn't even want to acknowledge her presence. So there you go. Well, if you made it this far into the video, you're a real one. You are appreciated, and you help me maintain the career path of me staying on YouTube, because your listening ears, your engagement on the videos, they mean more than you can ever know. And my birthday is next Friday. I don't think we're going to hit 300K, but if you can hit subscribe anyway and help us get closer, or help me get closer, I'd appreciate it. So thanks so much for tuning in. Are there any other, specific topics that you want me to go in depth in like I did with this video? Because I had a good time doing this one. Like I said, I didn't expect this to be more than like 8 minutes, but here I am almost 48 minutes talking about Aaron. But I wanted to go in depth, and like and subscribe. I'll catch you in the next video.